even now at the professional level, I'm like, how do people not know like where to move? Like it blows my mind still. Like, but I think it just makes me like really appreciative of like what Coach Bluter was able to do when we were at Iowa. Like she was so smart. She was able to like construct a team and make sure everyone always knew what they were going to do, whether you were the smartest basketball player on the team or you weren't. Like you were always on the same page with your teammates.
What happens if the most dynamic playmaker in the WNBA is ordered to stop doing what makes her so amazing? That's precisely what's happening in Indiana. According to Caitlin Clark, she thrives on rapid activity, but the coach wants the game to calm down. Pace isn't the only factor here. It involves the collision of two radically dissimilar basketball ideologies. Caitlin didn't hold back either, alluding to a late-game situation in which they lost points due to the safe call. We're dissecting why this conflict goes beyond simple disagreement. It might alter the course of her career. I apologize. It was a poor play for Caitlin Clark to not deliver a lob ball to this spot right here. You pass Kennedy Burke with a lob pass. Kenny Burke lacks sufficient athletic ability. Kelsey Mitchell was struck by you for a wide-open layup. The play is that. Otherwise, it's a stupid play. Caitlin Clark claims that one item gave her the entire tale. Not in a movie review, not after the game, but in the midst of it. There are 2 minutes remaining. Indiana is ahead by 12. She claims the call came in to slow things down, walk it up, drain the clock, and play it safe rather than shutting the door. Letting the defense breathe was not safe, just from her perspective. You have no idea how difficult it was for me to refrain from throwing that. I believe it's just a learning process, but everyone was saying, "We saw you about to throw that." She responded, "Oh, I know. Trust me." And it returns to something like my shot. As if time, score, and comprehension are all that are required. The ball gets inbound, and I believe that's where I can still kind of grow better at asking myself, do we really need that? She sees Kelsey Mitchell running to the edge of the open floor in a stride. That bucket isn't a maybe. With no hands in her face, that's a layup. Already, Clark is thinking, hit her now. There's a two-way bet. 2 more points, in her opinion, puts the game on. Much better than ever trying to milk a 30-second possession. 2 points is the best possible outcome. In a 12-point game, it makes no difference how much of the shot clock you waste. Being up 14 is preferable to being up 12. The speed slows to a crawl rather than letting it fly. 1 intentional half-court dribble. In a split second, the window slams shut, the channel collapses, and the entire defense is reset. If you've been following Clark over time, she loves those half-second reads, you know. She claimed that right then, she would have made the WNBA's best pass. It's not conceited. She was totally convinced by what she witnessed. When I committed 3 or 2 consecutive turnovers to start the 4th quarter, Steph yanked me and said, "This is like a learning moment. They could have caught it if you had thrown a slightly better pass, but do we really need that right now?" You have to be able to say, yes, maybe it could have been there. As in, no. Caitlin Clark trusted her ability to throw a pass on target before the defense could react because she knew the timing and spotted the mismatch. However, they were playing keep away from the opponent rather than the clock. Here's where she's completely transparent. Protecting a lead, in her opinion, does not entail spoiling it. It entails making it inaccessible. Playing to win or not to lose is the literal mindset behind it. Additionally, it's evident that Caitlin Clark has the mindset of, I want to play to blow teams out. She believes that you wake up by 14 with less than. After 2 minutes, the opposing squad begins to consider taking the bus home. They have more reasons to think they're still in it every second you pause. Running the shot clock down just because you can is not the same as that strategy. The way they played, particularly with Caitlin, demonstrated Stephanie White's mindset. We observed that they were blowing a lot of 4th quarter leads because of Stephanie White's mindset. She attempted to dribble out the clock. In the 4th, Kay wants to dribble the clock out like Stephanie White. In the 4th quarter, she has a natural knack to dribble the clock out. In the midst of it, Clark even smiled, not for laughs, but because she recognized she and Coach White were playing 2 completely different games at that same moment. White desired command. Clark desired momentum. Structure was prized by White. Before the defense could reset, Clark decided to launch an attack. It wasn't a small difference. In that moment, it felt like a canyon. The focus of just one possession shifted from Kelsey Mitchell's 2 missed points. It turned into an ideal snapshot of the larger problem. The Fever system versus Clark's intuition. And when you look at it that way, it alters your perspective on everything else. Every possession begins to feel like a struggle between chaos and control, speed and order. When I say this, I mean it. I would prefer it if Caitlin Clark made 4 of those crazy passes, 3 of which came off and 2 of which didn't. She makes the pass 4 times since she will score 2 points if it is successful. You might give in if they don't come off. This was never just about a missed layup for Clark. It had to do with slowing down, changing, and molding a basketball style such that it didn't feel like her own. It's about observing how a system that values patience over pressure dulls her greatest weapon, unpredictability. Furthermore, it becomes increasingly evident that this is more than just a single fourth-quarter night. It concerns an identity conflict that isn't going away. Away in the near future, Kayla Clark enjoyed holding the ball. She plays more like a read-and-react game. I'm here to let you know, buddy, that she recently went on Subbard and revealed everything. Lisa Blutter was missed. She didn't like how they managed the attack. She didn't see it at all. Caitlin's ability to score isn't her greatest strength. She is able to view a play before it is performed. The issue arises when you slow her down and force her to. When a weapon is overly programmed, it essentially disappears. In a blur, she refers to it as playing. She performs best when she responds to whatever is directly in front of her rather than standing there attempting to recall the 4th option in a practice drill. Stephanie White, Caitlin Clark's basketball coach, is someone I detest. For example, Stephanie White isn't a horrible coach in my opinion. Don't get things twisted, please. She is a very good coach. She's just not Carr's ideal coach, in my opinion. Her best basketball moments are always those in which she's sprinting up the court as the defense is frantically trying to make reads in real time. That's the source of the magic. When you combine the no-look passes, the lead-ahead dimes, and the fast pull-ups during transition, you can create a slow, methodical half-court system. Putting a governor on a sports automobile is analogous to that. It can still go, of course, but you just took away its unique quality. She had a 32-point triple-level, a rebound, and an assist. And similar to is the only explanation for her team's participation. And let's face it, during the press conference following the game, Caitlin Clark made sure, or rather, 71 made sure to voice their displeasure with her failure to transfer the ball to Dantas. Sequence after sequence is currently the foundation of the Fever's motion offense. Reverse it, feed the post, cut there, and pass here. Since all of that takes time, defenders have an opportunity to regroup and find their ideal position. According to Clark, she was essentially instructed to dribble the clock out during the 4th quarter. I apologize. For example, we have to play the percentages. How likely is it that Caitlin Clark will help Kelsey Mitchell during that break? 85%. 85%. And if you're curious about the distinction, here it is. The audience becomes excited when Caitlin dribbles in, hits Kelsey Mitchell, and earns a steal. When you begin dribbling the ball at the halfway line, will the audience become excited? When the defense is backpedaling, Clark is compelled to hold it and wait rather than attack. And any chaotic edge is lost the moment that clock strikes the teens. She had consistent spacing back in Iowa, ready to pull our 4 shooters. Early on in the shot clock, everyone feels at ease. It wasn't just a run-and-gun exercise. The spacing was intended to force the defender to make a decision right away. And Caitlin already had a response, regardless of how they responded. Even our stand-in post players. I often think about how Coach Bluter managed practices and other things, and I feel so fortunate to be able to look back on it. I'm going to watch other colleges now. Procedures and like. She was incredibly deliberate about ensuring that everyone understood their roles, what they were doing, and that they were all on the same page. Before the weak side help even realized who they were protecting, Clark was able to swing the ball to the corner. Supported by solid data, not simply gut instinct. She is far more effective in transitions than she is in half-court possessions. Her numbers increase when she pushes. The defense doesn't have time to load up on her, not because she's throwing shots, Yes, there are still 225 to go. It's a 12-point match. Caitlin has two options to essentially give them a basket, but the game is all but finished. They are capable of daggering the shot. I don't give a damn at this point. I don't give a damn. In any case, you've won the game. To lose the game, you have to do something incredibly stupid. However, Caitlin doesn't need to use her right hand to take that dribble. In contrast, consider a half-court trip in which Clark is walking the ball up while glaring at a defense that has already determined how it will be played. Before she even crosses half-court, she will switch or trap. She has acknowledged that everything slows down, and not in a positive way the instant her brain enters think mode. What was once instinct transforms into reluctance. Passing lanes disappear faster, and the reads take longer. The fact that Kayla's teammates are unsure of where to go on the basketball court isn't a fight. Dude, for example, if she passes the ball to you, you should know in your head that you are a professional athlete and that you must position yourself correctly and set your feet. If you're in charge of play, it could be any set if she's fresh off a pick and roll. Defenses in the WNBA are too strong for that. They will shut you down if you beat them up anymore. They'll send you more bodies if you let them rest. Because of this, the topic of pace is more than just running up the floor. The goal is to keep Clark in her element, making snap decisions at full speed. Any coach, by which I mean any coach who makes the best pass in the WNBA, must avoid hitting Sophie or passing the ball to Kelsey Mitchell for an open layup. It is not appropriate to listen to Cunningham's open three-point attempt. She's unpredictable while she's moving. Instead of the other way around, defenses are responding to her. However, the equilibrium changes if you slow it slower. The terms are now being dictated by them. This goes beyond simply reducing her assist totals or shot totals. The goal is to transform her into a completely different character from the chaos-driven attack first player that we have previously encountered. Additionally, you run the risk of weakening the very edge that makes her so potentially lethal in. First, the way Caitlin Clark plays is instinctive. For example, Caitlin plays based on instinct. One player who goes on runs is Caitlin. The issue is that Caitlin doesn't go on the runs if she begins to overthink things. Caitlin makes the runs when she feels like it. Numerous individuals observing this scenario believe Stephanie White is attempting to change Caitlin Clark into someone she is not. Furthermore, it's not merely idle fan banter. As you can see, it in the team's offensive strategy and the people that it genuinely helps. White is reportedly interested in Caitlin playing more like some guards who are suited for slower, more deliberate basketball. Think patient, systematic, high IQ, and predictable. For players that prefer to control every beat of the possession, that might work. The problem is that Caitlin is dangerous because she is the complete opposite of that. Her defense strategy is based on chaos. It's the rapid-fire passes that no one anticipated. Striking a cutter 2 paces ahead of schedule. Caitlin Clark discusses her coach Lisa Bluter and her offensive acumen. The sophistication of the offense would be evident to anyone who understands offensive and how to dissect it. Fit and floor space are crucial. Is being prepared to make that skip pass as soon as a defender blinks. That uncertainty is what gives her the upper hand. You strip her when you instruct her to slow down and wait for the offense to go through all of its motions, taking away that uncertainty. For precisely this reason, some people claim that White's vision more closely resembles a Paige Boer-style mold. Once more, not Caitlin's words, but a composed, measured manner that doesn't depend on a steady tempo. I apologize to Stephanie White if Caitlin Clark exhibits some passivity, but if she truly wants you to be Paige Beckers, go to Amber and say, "Look, I'm obviously not the player this coach wants. Go trade me for Paige. Now go trade me for Paige. Trade me for Paige. Send me to Dallas. Send me to Dallas. I don't care." The impact this has on teammates is truly evident. Consider the case of Kelsey Mitchell. Mitchell becomes a headache to protect in a system that moves more quickly and freely. Without the ball, she is scurrying, catching before her opponent can react, and immediately striking or pulling up. As you can see, if you ever speak, you've heard Paige discuss her favorite college game to date is the Oklahoma game. You know what? It was just a blur. It was just a blur. She was playing off instinct. It was a blur. She didn't know what was happening. She was just scoring. Caitlin's off-instinct moments are a blur. I'm just going to score 6 points in a row and provide an assist 4 times in a row. That they're running in the motion offense. There is now a second version of Kelsey Mitchell, who ultimately finds herself waiting outside the arc as the shot clock ticks off and the ball swings around. In a ball-dominant clock-consuming setup, that is what takes place. For 2 distinct Kelsey Mitchells, it transforms an off-ball killer into a spot-up option. The problem is that she gives Kelsey Mitchell complete freedom to act as foolishly as she pleases. However, Caitlin Clark performs something that she considers to be a bad move, even if I don't believe it's stupid. And the only result is that Caitlin Clark makes a stupid move. As if Clark's vision is most noticeable there. She wants men like Mitchell to be moving all the time so she can work with lanes and passing angles. In order to keep the defense guessing about the direction of the next strike, she wants shooters to have space. That is not encouraged by the motion offense. It promotes that gradual development in which each pass is intended to set up the next one rather than to strike while the opportunity is present. Additionally, Caitlin Clark discusses how WNBA players lack mobility and are unaware of where they should be. Caitlin Clark is bringing. People are talking about my losing at Iowa, where I didn't win a national title. You guys are aware of Iowa, are you not? A team that no one ever thought would advance as far as they did. It's not that some rosters don't work with it. Yes, it does. The reason this is more than just a tempo dispute is that it fails to highlight Caitlin's strengths. This is a direct inquiry about identity. Will the Fever capitalize on the unique qualities of its franchise star? Or will they force her to conform to a system, even if it means muting the aspect of her game that, what most frightens opponents? She does. I'm sorry, but this coach obviously does not want Caitlin Clark to be Caitlin Clark since you take Caitlin's positives with her problems. Yes, she will make a stupid mistake 1 out of every 5 times she tries to pull off the spectacular. Additionally, she occasionally attempts to pull off the extraordinary during games, but it never quite works out. That's okay. We accept that. This is more than a player versus system argument. Her entire developmental trajectory could be slowed by this kind of action. Additionally, the longer they continue down this path, the more it will influence her as a player throughout the coming years as well as this season. What Stephanie White says doesn't matter to me. Anything else isn't only a stupid move. You don't run. The game is dull since the audience doesn't participate. Caitlin should be uninteresting, according to Stephanie White. It's really obvious. Caitlin Clark's attempt to take charge for her own ego was never the goal here. How you treat a once-in-a-generation player is crucial. Do you construct the system so her strengths hit like a sledgehammer every game, or do you shape her into the one you currently have? The ideal strategy, according to coaches, is always to modify the system to fit the skill. More coaching, more coaching, more coaching. What I heard was that, no more coaching, no more coaching. And she concludes by noting, even though you're not the best basketball player on the court, you always knew the game because Lisa Bluer was such a great coach, precisely where you were supposed to be. Now, the question, should Indiana adopt Caitlin's style or should she adapt to the Fever's? Because, regardless of how they respond to it, that choice will either serve as a model or a warning sign for the WNBA's future stars.